Hey everyone, it's your boy ComicConquistador with a very important message. Hydration is important. Not only for you, but also for your comics. Now you may be asking, why would I ever need to hydrate my comics? Water and comics just don't mix. Well, to answer that fully, let's take a brief, maybe even simplistic look at the life cycle of a comic. So, comics come from paper, and paper comes from trees. Paper factory, the trees come in as they're chopped up into logs, they're stripped of the bark, and they're ground into very, very small pieces. Now, wood is made of a few things. One of them is cellulose, and cellulose is the main ingredient of paper. So this wood pulp is thrown into a chemical soup which isolates that cellulose so we can make paper. And then after a few more industrial processes, mainly like heating and pressing and more pressing, cutting and drying, eventually end up with paper. And when it's first made, this paper is clean, fresh, supple. And supple is just another word for it easily bends and returns to its original shape. Now, if you look under a microscope, paper is actually a weave of these cellulose fibers. And it's not a perfect grid, it's kind of random. It's like a web. So over time, these additional chemicals, they can start an acidification process, and that leads to the tanning of the paper, making the paper more brittle, making the paper less supple, less moist. So now we have a comic that has been loved and cared for. It's been thrown into the bottom of a dirty box and thrown into a garage or thrown into a basement for years and years, and it's a little crumpled, it's a little dented, it's a little malformed. It's not that 9.8 pancake loveliness that we all wish for. So when you come across some of that tarnished silver, you're going to want to make it look a little bit more presentable. Give it a little cleaning, rub it off some of that dirt, and then throw it into a heat press to make it nice, smooth, and flat. Now to do that, that really won't work too well with a 40-year-old book that is brittle and delicate. So we want to get it hydrated a little bit to make those cellulose fibers a little more pliable, make them not so rigid, kind of make them loose, and make them return to a nice, flat, original position. So there's basically two ways to do that, an active and passive way. In the passive way, we're going to make an environment that's humid and place the comic in there so it can absorb naturally and slowly that water in the air around it. And that could be for like 4 hours up to 24 hours. And in active hydration, we're pretty much steaming it. We're getting some really, really hot water, putting that into the air really close to the comic. That's usually over a period of minutes. I think that passive is a little better, although it is a lot slower, and it's not the easiest thing to control. When you're doing active, it's definitely quicker. I think that there is more chance for damage. Some people, they use a handheld steamer, and if you're steaming it like this, so the comic is down here, there's chances that you can get water droplets, and that's really bad. And if you're holding the comic in a weird angle, you could damage it also. So active comes with lots of risks, but it's quick. Passive is very, very slow, not the easiest thing to control, but for the most part, the comic is going to be pretty safe because you're only having it in one position for that hydration time. So let's take a look at the tools of the trade of active and passive hydrating. So this is my hydration chamber. It's basically one of those plastic containers that you could slide under your bed that you can purchase at Target or Walmart. Inside the container, there is a foldable cookie rack, and it's a wire so that when you lay the comic on it, it can still absorb humidity top and bottom. On the bottom, there are several trays of distilled water. We don't want any impurities in there to affect the comic. It's just good old pure water. Don't use tap water because that can have some other impurities. And this is for a more active technique of hydrating. This is a facial steamer. Got it off Amazon. It's probably like 30 bucks. It's pretty easy. Again, put the distilled water in here, and then the heating element will get super hot. Steam will come out here, and then you would hold the comic like this, just getting the steam all up in between the pages. And a handheld steamer has chance of a water drop hitting the page. I like this one because that really is not an issue because the steam is coming up, whereas handheld, usually it's lateral or above, so that this really cuts down on those accidental water spills. And I'll show you how we do this. Of course, gotta have protection. Then I just put a plastic ruler in the center fold. That's where it's strongest. And this isn't only good for comics, it's also good for your face. The little gentle exfoliation here. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I'm feeling pretty. So pretty. I think, all right. So, yeah, I'm just gonna run it over here. Get the cover nice exposed. And this is a more active method of hydration. I'm not a great fan of this, although it does take a lot less time than the passive hydration with the hydration chamber. You have to get in there every page, separate them. Sometimes it's hard to get that page, so I like to take it off just so I don't get too steamed up in one section. Because sometimes the pages are sticky when you don't have it right in front of you. But yeah, just flip through all those pages, get nice and hydrated. Don't want these pages to be brittle or soaking. All right, it's steamed up. And the pages will tend to curl a little bit because steam is hot. And that's a brief introduction to active and passive hydrating of comics. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Please leave a comment, leave a like, and maybe even subscribe. Thanks, and take care. Bye.